My name is George Cates. I am an Oro Valley resident. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as Councilman Hornet has already read the press release, but I wanted to say a word of thanks to Cheryl Lamona and her team. They gave up holiday time, family time, you name it, through the snow of Oro Valley, through all of the other distractions, to attempt to give the taxpayers and voters a voice that many felt they had been denied in the lead up to the vote on December 17th. And of course, we now find that that deadline was arbitrary and imposed and tighter than it ever needed to be. It should be pointed out that all the voters who signed the petitions did so enthusiastically. Some even sought out the people to say, where do I sign? And you may say they were teed off. Of course, we now know that it's been determined that the voice of the voters probably will not be heard. If by some miracle the referendum were allowed to proceed, it would afford numerous advantages for all concerned. For example, the voters could decide if this is a step they believe the town should take and whether they would be willing to risk the financial exposure due to the uncertainty of the town experiencing a Gulf comeback in Oro Valley, and whether this risk is worth taking for the benefits potential. The majority council members could utilize town meetings to explain to the voters how basically obsolete golf clubhouse with approximately 21,000 square feet of space could be repurposed in a cost-effective manner to satisfy the purposes expressed in the town survey that is often referenced. A community center may have many meanings, different meanings to different people. This with the opportunity to clarify that, what it would mean for the town of Oro Valley. Town staff could refine the financial projections beyond those provided by Troon, which most argue are overly optimistic, and present a more believable set of numbers based on the fee structure that would be set by council. And finally, a plan for the use of the facility could be presented that would spell out the cost benefit of utilizing the facility versus a purpose-built facility. Real-world cost projections would help in this regard for both the modernization of the clubhouse and for a new facility. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lois Berkowitz.
My name is Lois Berkowitz. I live, unfortunately, in Oro Valley. Greetings all. I would just like to, in support of the previous speaker, like to say that I was one of the people who signed the petition. I don't appreciate being thwarted by a de minimis error, technical clerical error on the forms. There were over 3,000 people who signed the petition. There were over 1,000 people who signed the second petition in 5 hours. Heaven knows if we had another 24 or 48 hours, we'd have more than enough signatures to get this referendum through. I'd like to say on behalf of myself and many people I've spoken to that we will boycott these facilities, shop merchants in Marana and Catalina and Tucson. It doesn't take very much to reduce a person's expenditures out of Oro Valley. You can just combine your errands going to another part of town and boycott the local merchants who will not appreciate the fact that you've set them up to lose revenue by making this poor decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Siegel.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. It's good to be here. I've lived in Oro Valley for 5 years. I've been a resident of Pima County since 1969, and I'm glad I live in Oro Valley. It's a wonderful community. And we are age folks and our students. If you're in school and you're learning a civic lesson about our community and you hear about the vote, the referendum, and you hear over 3,000 people brought it to the city council's attention, and then by a couple of technicalities, it got put away. It didn't happen. It wasn't heard. It wasn't brought to the electorate. That's something, a civic lesson that would teach students about the town and about our community and about city government. It would seem to me that for teaching students, it's not about the missed technical issue, it's about the issue of having a vote. And this is something that should be voted on, in my opinion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Don Coleman.
Mr. Mayor, council members, the town of Oro Valley contains 6.5 golf courses. These courses have all existed for many years as private entities and as competitors. All of these courses have had to adjust to the decreasing level of golf play that's apparent here in Tucson as well as in our nation. These courses and their owners have dealt with this decreasing revenue base in different ways. Some by contributions from the owners, others by the elimination or reduction of maintenance costs, and sometimes by the elimination of debt, i.e. transfer of ownership. This trend continues, and it most certainly will also be the case with Troon. All 6.5 courses are surrounded by many Oro Valley residents that live in homes adjacent to these courses, not just El Conquistador. They all wish for their courses to prosper. They wish that their amenities would continue to exist, and they would appreciate it if their views would also continue to be attractive, not just El Conquistador. By your decision, you're choosing to unfairly assist some course side residents, while the residents of Oro Valley on the other 4 courses are put at a significant competitive disadvantage. This is blatantly unfair, especially since you are forcing them to help fund this unfairness. You're asking us to be accepting while you subsidize our competitor, Troon and Lopez. With our tax monies, millions in capital additions, additional town costs for future town services and predictable overruns, numerous cost offsets, and lastly, by eliminating significant town and county revenue sources. I repeat, it is unfair for you to ask your own constituents to help fund their competitors. All of the courses have existed for a long time. It is this unfair competition that is new, and it is of your doing. We would be comfortable competing with Troon and the current owner if they received no more financial support than you made available to the other 4 courses. It is unrealistic of you as a board, as a council, to expect the rest of us to be so accepting and unforgiving. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Lamanna.
My name is Cheryl Lamanna, and I am an Oro Valley resident. In 2008, the Goldwater Institute published an article by Emil Franzi, a local radio host. It was titled, OV Ham-Handed When It Comes to Free Speech. If you're not familiar with the term ham-handed, it means clumsy. Mr. Franzi cited several unsuccessful attempts where Oro Valley tried to, quote, muzzle and harass others. In 2 separate instances, the town denied or rejected the petitions filed to put the development deal for Oro Valley Marketplace on the ballot. The town lost both cases in court and cost taxpayers well over $100,000, as the Division II courts noted that, quote, proponents' failure to strictly comply with a procedural statutory requirement does not always necessitate that the referendum petition be declared void. In any case, the rejection of the referendum petitions filed last week by Tooth and Ora Valley appears to be yet another example of the town actively denying citizens their voice. As you are aware, yesterday we received the petition receipt for the referendum that was filed to put the purchase of the Elkhorn Country Club tennis and golf facilities to a vote of the people. They were rejected because the serial number was not on them, a number which is little more than a tracking number for the town and has no bearing on the intent of the people who signed them. I will own that error, but the town's hands-off approach to referenda is also erroneous. I'd like to read to you from the Secretary of State handbook that was provided regarding local issues. This handbook is written for statewide initiatives, referenda, and recalls. While many local jurisdictions utilize the handbook, there are some differences between state and local issues. Local political committees are encouraged to work with their county, city, town, or district to ensure they receive the proper information for their local jurisdiction. I doubt that that means we can't give legal advice for every question. Therefore, to blatantly disregard the 3,000 signatures that were obtained during the Christmas holidays, as well as the 1,000 signatures that were obtained in that 4.5-hour time frame, well, those two things alone are just evidence to any fair-minded council that there is significant opposition to this purchase. Both efforts demonstrate the overwhelming interest of the community to slow down or stop the acquisition so we can all get a better look at the situation. In light of the fact that we still haven't seen the purchase agreement, the financials are questionable, and the 20-year contract with Troon is just egregious as it compels the town to appeal to HSL for just about everything, we strongly recommend the town council reconsider their position on this purchase. As Mr. Franzi concludes with his calculation of the attorney's fees, employee time, outside consulting, court fees, and other related items, attempted stifling isn't cheap. Thank you.
Thank you. Marlene